Hey, Max here from Australian Vaporizers, and today we've got a battle royale between two of the most popular budget-friendly portables, the Magic Flight Launchbox and the Flowermate V5.0S. This is the first time we've really taken a proper look at the Magic Flight Launchbox on this channel. It really is an interesting unit. It's no spring chicken either. In fact, it was one of the first portable vapes to be released. For a unit this old to still be as popular as it is a huge achievement. Nice simple construction and a unique aesthetic appeal. In contrast, we have the Flowermate V5.0S, which is pretty much a polar opposite of the MFLB in most respects. It's relatively new, it's digital, and it doesn't exactly have an organic feel to it. In saying that though, it has been hugely popular. The feature set is a lot more comparable to that of a mid-range unit, which is great considering they're one of the cheapest portables available at the moment. If you've watched our videos before, you might remember the Flowermate V5 Pro or the Mini Pro. Well, the V5.0S is the basic model with less temperature flexibility. Let's have a closer look. Looking at these two units side by side, you can see that the form factors are completely different. I suppose the first thing you might notice about the Launchbox is that there's no temperature indicator. There is a little heating LED under the chamber, but that's simply an on-off indicator. Other than that, it's essentially just a block of wood, albeit a stylish one, with a battery port in the side which feeds to two metallic rods which act as the heating element. The filling chamber is accessed by sliding this acrylic door to the side. As you can see, the chamber, or trench as they call it, is nice and broad, and the mesh is super fine, which is great for preventing dust and resin buildup inside the unit. It comes with a glass mouthpiece, which is nice and easy to insert and remove on the go. Nice little inscription on the back here for those of you who value an uplifting quote every now and again. The batteries are obviously external, so there's no charge port on the unit itself. The V5.0S, on the other hand, is a little less rustic. Nice metallic body, simple single button operation with a built-in LED that lets you know what temperature setting you're on and whether or not it's heating. Sliding doors on the top and the bottom, one to stash the mouthpiece and one to cover the filling chamber. The mouthpiece just screws onto the top here, but let's have a quick look at the chamber first. Quite narrow, but probably a decent size for most people. And finally, we've got the charge port on the bottom. Picking a winner for portability is pretty tough. The Launchbox is definitely smaller and much lighter, but you've got extra batteries to consider as well as the glass mouthpiece. The fact that you can stash the Flowermate's mouthpiece inside the unit means it's much more self-contained. In my opinion, I think portability's a tie. Looking at the materials used, the Launchbox is of course primarily made of maple, although you can get cherry and walnut versions. The vapor path is comprised of a screen, which is stainless steel, the glass mouthpiece, the wooden interior and the housing, and of course the acrylic cover. Now I know what some of you may be thinking, acrylic? Well, Magic Flight have stated that neither the acrylic nor the wooden sections sit close enough to the heat source to cause any concern. The Flowermate's vapor path is made up of the ceramic chamber, the glass mouthpiece, and the stainless steel top and bottom screens. I'd have to say that despite what Magic Flight have stated about the acrylic, I'd still feel safer using the Flowermate on a daily basis. But hey, I'm no scientist, so I'll leave that one up to speculation. In terms of overall build quality, both units feel really well made, so it kind of depends on what you're after. The V5.0S definitely looks more sleek and modern, but the MFLB has this rustic charm that most people, including myself, are really impressed by. When it comes to kit inclusions, I'd say Flowermate has the edge. The external filling canisters, extra tool, and storage pouch make it a bit more appealing. Okay, so it's time to fire these guys up. The Launchbox is operated by pressing the battery up against the contacts. Now on paper this sounds pretty easy, right? Well, not exactly. It's heavily reliant on your own technique. Temps inside the chamber can easily exceed 200 degrees Celsius within 5 seconds, so if you're not careful, the herb can burn very quickly. The best way I've found to avoid this is to engage the battery for 3 to 4 seconds. Start taking a slow draw, and if the vapor starts to feel or taste too harsh, pulse the battery on and off until you've reached around 80% lung capacity. After that, release the battery completely and complete your draw with a fast sip. This will cool the screen down a little to prepare for stirring and the next hit. In my experience, the Launchbox produces different results depending on how much charge is left in the battery, so you'll probably find that it takes a little longer to heat towards the end of a session. On the plus side, they do include a comprehensive manual which absolutely blows Flowermates out of the water, so you've definitely got a helping hand in that respect. It goes through several techniques from beginner to advanced, which is more than I can say for a lot of vapes these days. The Flowermate on the other hand is fairly easy to operate. 5 presses of the power button to start it up, hold the power button to cycle through the temp presets. Simple as that. Technically, you could say that the launch box is more flexible when it comes to temperature range, but it's not like you'll ever know exactly what temp you're running at. The V5S has 3 temperature presets, 195, 205, and 215 degrees Celsius. These sound fairly hot, but it does tend to run a little cooler than you'd expect. Overall, the Flowermate's temp control is definitely a winner. Flexibility is one thing, but I like my vapes to produce consistent results. This is possible with the launch box, but there's a lot more practice involved. I've mentioned the downside of the launch box's fast heat up time, but for a lot of people, this will actually be a plus. Fast heat up usually means fast cooldown, which means this vape is perfect for quick on-the-go sessions. The Flowermate still heats up fairly quickly. 45 seconds is an impressive figure compared to a lot of other portables, just not compared to the launch box. Time to fill them up. And I'm a big fan of broad, open filling chambers, so the MFLB is a winner for me when it comes to the whole loading scenario. In saying that, the grind has to be very fine, so you want to make sure your herb is dry enough to accommodate that. Magic Flight make a special finishing grinder especially for use with the launch box. It's actually pretty handy. It's kind of like a little cheese grater for your coarsely ground herb, and it fits into the top of the chamber. The V5S isn't exactly difficult to load, but I tend to spill herb around the bowl all the time. Flowermate released their own special Load X grinder, but it's a bit clunky and it doesn't grind straight into the bowl. You've got to transfer it from this basic 2-piece into a storage section, which to me is more trouble than it's worth. Both of these units produce fairly thin vapor. The launch box is technically capable of denser production, but as I mentioned earlier, it's also capable of burning the material, so we're being pretty careful here. Taste is an interesting one. The Flowermate does have a bit of a residual factory taste when it's brand new, but this tends to fade over the first few uses. I'd definitely recommend running this unit on max for a while when you first get it, which should help a little. The launch box is infused with that slight organic wooden flavour, which is nice, but unless you're a dead set pro at operating it, it's prone to tasting a little too toasty for my liking. The key to avoiding or minimising this uneven heat distribution is to mix the herb up after every draw. It really needs a good knock around to make sure the bottom layer of herb gets lifted off that mesh screen. The cooling capacity offered by these two units is very similar, not bad, but not too great either. They'll definitely get a bit scratchy at higher temperatures. Airflow, I'd have to say that the launch box is slightly better in that department. The Flowermate's limited by the narrow vapor path and top screen, so there's only so much you can expect from it. The Magic Flight launch box comes with 2 replaceable nickel metal hydride batteries, as opposed to the 2 internal non-replaceable lithium batteries sported by the V5S. While it's great to be able to expand the battery life, charge them externally, and replace them yourself, the launch box's batteries are kinda terrible. Magic Flight quote a figure of 1 session or 1 fill per battery per charge, which is pretty spot on. This however means that if you're planning to use it 3 or 4 times of an outing, you're going to need extra batteries. The V5S on the other hand offers around 5 to 6 10-minute sessions per charge, so going back to portability, in order to make an accurate comparison between these two vapes, you've got to compare not just the MFLB, but the MFLB plus 3 extra batteries. And as per usual, please note that this figure is completely dependent upon your set temperature, draw style, and several other variables. Charge time is another big win for the V5S, which takes roughly 2.5 hours to charge as opposed to the MFLB, which can take up to 4 hours. Unfortunately, neither of these units can be used while charging. Magic Flight do make an optional power adapter, which does work quite well, but it's bigger than the unit itself, so personally, I'm not the biggest fan. Both of these units need to be cleaned fairly regularly with a brush and wiped down with some isopropyl alcohol, but I'd say that the launch box is easy to take care of overall. This is mainly due to the open filling chamber design and the super fine screen. The mouthpieces of both units can be soaked in isopropyl, which is great, but the Flowermate's requires some disassembly beforehand. Parts will need to be replaced at a similar rate, mainly dropped mouthpieces. The launch box's batteries will probably be the biggest upkeep cost though, so definitely keep that in mind if you're in it for the long haul. Reliability? Well, put simply, the launch box is by far the more durable option, and is therefore going to offer the best longevity. It's covered by a lifetime warranty which protects you against all the most common issues including screen breakage. The screen isn't user replaceable, so this is definitely a welcome addition to the policy. But the batteries are the biggest worry in this equation. If you're a heavy user, replacing and charging batteries all the time is going to get old really quick. The V5S is only covered by a 12-month warranty, and considering the fact that you can't replace the batteries yourself, I'd say it's not really suitable for heavy users either. Well, two great budget-friendly units here, but let's quickly go over the pros and cons. The Flowermate V5S is discreet, it has selectable temperature presets, it has great battery life for the size, and overall is reminiscent of some mid-range units that can cost an extra 50 to 100 Australian dollars. The downsides? Visible vapor production can be pretty sparse, it's not exactly the easiest unit to maintain, and the 12-month warranty doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. The Magic Flight launch box is super small, it's super durable, and is covered by a lifetime warranty. On the other hand, it requires a pretty serious learning curve to use correctly, and it is still prone to inconsistencies in temperature control. The biggest downside though is the battery life. So it's a fairly tight one, but in my opinion the Flowermate V5S is the way to go for most users and situations. The fixed temperature presets make it nice and simple to use, and that extra battery life is awesome, especially for the price point. In saying that, the launch box still might have its place in your collection. The fact that it'll stand up to being dropped more so than the Flowermate will might just be the deciding factor for some people. Let us know what you think though. If you've got something to say or to ask, throw us a comment below, and as always, if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, this is Max from Australian Vaporizers, have a good one.